It's Lag BaOmer today, and I feel great. What's the right word? I suppose I would say sad because it's a hot day, but I usually like to go to Meiron. I usually go right after Koilo and go to Meiron, and it's a very elevating, uplifting experience. As in my friend's sefer, Rabbi Rasaf, he brings. I don't remember which sefer it's from. It says, "Whoever didn't see Simchas Miran, lo ra Simcha b'yama." Right? It's a very special experience. And the question is like, what are they so happy about? What is everybody singing and dancing? What are they so happy about? The Ramah brings that's the mitzvah ksas simcha, and that's why we bought ice cream today. It's being eaten. People are eating ice cream. That's ice cream. So it sounds like from the poskim, the Pashup shot why there's Simcha on Lag BaOmer is because Pasku Mises Rabbi Akiva, right? And I was just thinking about it this morning that's seemingly a Pliya Tzuma. Why is that? If you look at the Gemara in Yavamas, Daf Samach Beis, which brings this, right? What happened? Right? The Gemara says, right? Right. Okay. Shnemeser Elef Zugim Talmidim, right? It's either 12,000 or 12,000. First is 24,000. Highly Rabbi Kiva, Migavat ad Antifras, V'kula Mesa V'perachachim, Mipnei Shlo Nogu Kavod Zev V'zev. Right? So they all died. So who cares if they stop if there's nobody left? Right? So why is that a Siba? Why is that a Siba for Simcha? Right? If everybody's dead. Bishlam, if you had 48,000 Talmidim, and 24,000 died, Agav, 24,000 Talmidim comes out to about 800 a day. That's about 30 every hour. You can just imagine what Rabbi Kiva was going through. It was incredible that somebody could go through such an ordeal and live to tell the story. But so what was the big simcha over here? Now Lamaisa Rav Yaakov Hill has a whole sefer on Lag BaOmer, and he writes there that he brings from the Chidoah. Yeah, he brings from the Chidoah that the Ikar Simcha was that they were masmich the Chamisha Talmidim, as the Gemara here says, Rav Meir, Rav Yehuda, Rav Yosi, Rav Shimon, Lev ben Shemua, right? The Haim Amidu Torah Osashah. They were the Maimid Torah, right? So still, it needs beer, right? It needs beer. So, okay, we have 5 new Talmidim, but that's the reason for simple. As so many Talmidim were nifter, that's really really a reason for simple. Yeah, but the Ramah says Nogim Simcha, right? And Ksas Simcha. Ksas. Okay, even Ksas. Ksas is something, right? My brother told me once that the happiest day of the year, by the way, is which day? What's the happiest day of the year? What? No, Rosh. Very good. Because it says Kishenichnas Adar Mar. Let's say to stop, right? So you keep going until Erev Rosh Av. Okay. In any event, it needs beer. It really needs beer. And I want to suggest something. Okay, it needs some work because it's a little bit radical, but that doesn't really bother me ever. But I want to suggest something along these lines. And everyone knows that my desire in life is thanking Hashem when things look bad. Feldheim wrote to me that if we don't sell more books, that they're going to, they're going to take us to Tinter. But anyway, but the point is like this. So yeah, everyone should buy as many copies if you did it. It's a really great save. But look, we sold already thousands of copies. They accidentally printed some by accident. Okay. Anyway, but it's all good, so don't worry about it. The point is like this. The point is that the Kadmonim tell us, that had the Torah gone through the 24,000 Talmidim, it would have been a great. I don't want to use the word tragedy because that's very strong. It would have been a pagam in the whole Masera, because as we brought earlier from the Gra says Eishes Chayil Miyamsai, right? The highest bechina that a person can reach is called Eishes Chayil, He calls it Isha Maskelis, and Chayil is Memches Kinyanim Torah. He says it's only possible to reach Shleimus in Torah with the Memches Kinyanim, and the more of the Memches Kinyanim you have, the greater your Torah will be, right? And that's why the Bali Musar say each one of the 49 days of the Omer, you should work on one of the midas. The last day you should work on all of them, the Kinyanim. So the fact that the Talmidim Rabbi Akiva were not knowing COVID was that there was a pagam in the entire Masira. Right now, it needs beer. What does it mean? The Talmidim Rabbi Akiva, they weren't knowing COVID zebazeh. I said once a diuk. I think it's right. Zebazeh. The pshat is, I once heard from one of the Talmidim of Chaim Shmulevitz. He said like a really very important thing. Anybody who's married or should know this. Yeah, that Chaim Shmulevitz said anybody you're close to, your spouse, your parents, maybe even your charusa, perhaps even your Rosh Kolol, right? You should think about their milas. Yeah, you should be misponen on their milas, and when you see them, yeah, you'll be very sameach. Right? I know personally two big Talmidim of Rav Chaim Shmulevitz. One of them happens to be Rav Alexander Mandelbaum, one of the previous mashgichim by Heichel and Torah. And whenever I meet him, like he's so happy to see me. And I asked him once, like, how do you do that? He said, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz taught us, yeah, that the proper Anhagas Achayim is to be spawned on a person's milas, and then when you see them, and that's called kavod. Yeah, kavod. Kavod is taking a ruchniistic concept and giving it weight. The word kavod really means weight. Yakir. It means giving it weight and giving it right. When you see somebody and you're sameach to see them, that's a kavod. Your Greek makabel will say upon your office. You makabel them with honor and dignity. Yeah. Zebazeh, Lefinis Daiti, there's a remez there that they were sure, I don't know, maybe they stood up for each other, I don't know what it was still a short kavod Torah, but it wasn't ad kidei kach, it wasn't kavod zelazeh. It wasn't that each one knew that this guy is like really chashiv, this guy's a baki and joyim, and this guy is a Sinai, and this guy's an Onkaharim. They didn't think about each other's, why not? Yeah, I think the reason is the Mishnah at the end of Sota says, Kishameis Rav Akiva batul kavod Torah. Rav Akiva was the quintessential, I remember Kavod Torah when I was a Bachar in Yeshiva. So in our dining room on Rehova Bukharin, so Rav Avad Yosef used to come speak. There was a shul upstairs, and it was like incredible. Just a few hundred people coming, and he comes in his Rishon LeZion garb. It was a real Kavod Torah, it was an incredible thing, right? And you can imagine Rav Akiva with 24,000 Talmidim, such a Kavod Torah. When you have such a Rebbe, there's two things. Number one is, it's harder to mechavet other people. Yeah, when you have such a chashav Rebbe, you draw your standard based on Rebbe, and that could cause a person in very slight ways not to mechavet other people as much. Number one. Number two is there's a drisha. Talmidi Rebbe Kiva, since Rebbe Kiva held, the sword of Kol HaTorah Kula is V'aftarecha Kamocha, right? Masana L'chavre Al Tasilo, right? So there was a special akpada on them, right? And the fact they didn't reach a shleimus in Kavod Abrius in this, that, if we saw them, there would be finer mention, and they would be, they were very, very chashuv yidden, I'm sure, right? But they didn't reach that shleimus of Memches Kinyanim, Eishes Chayil, that the Masorah could go through them. So the fact that they died, I don't want to say, I'm not chas v'shalom saying that there was a simcha in that, yeah? Right? And someone told me last night, Rav Chaim Yitzhak Kaplan, who's the son of Naftali Kaplan, he spoke last night in Hebron. He Kamat said this word. The word is the simcha the Masorah is coming through the Chamisha Talmidim. That's the simcha. The simcha is that the Masorah is coming in the way that Matukan took away. Yeah, it's coming Matukan away. It could have come. Imagine like if they hadn't died, right? Then it would have come through such a thing. And what would Torah look like today? Chatasi and Mazkir Ayam, who was it? Huxley, right? He once wrote a science fiction story about like a guy who went back in time and like he killed a butterfly, and then like 20 million years later, so the whole world looked different, right? So had the Masorah gone through Merkul Kalim, yeah, no, I'm sorry, Chas v'Shalom, not Merkul Kalim, those who weren't Shalom and thing. So imagine what it would look today, right? The Mishnah at the end of Sota says that before Mashiach comes, Chutzpah Yazge. Senator Clinton, she used to be Senator Clinton, I don't know, she an old Asian. So she what's it called? When she got to New York, she said, I learned a new word this week, chutzpah, chutzpah yazge, right? Chutzpah. Imagine if the Masorah had gone through that, maybe Mashiach would have come quicker. I don't know. But, that slight point of lo nogu kavod zeh, it could have made itself. So I'm suggesting, Lefinis Daiti, the simcha was valid, like the Chidah is saying, yeah, that the Torah went through these Chamisha Talmidim. And Chas v'Shalom, we're not happy that they died. We're just happy the Masorah didn't go through them. We're happy, right? Not that they died, Chas v'shalom, but the Masorah didn't go through them. That's a Siba of Simcha. Now the Chidah says something else, which it took me many, many years of learning Sfarim Kadeshim to chap. What is Netzach and Hod? Those are like Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Those are very straightforward spheres because Chesed is, kindness. Whereas Din, Tiferes is the synthesis. What's Netzach and Hod? So I saw Rav Chaim Friedlander writes in Hakdama to the Ramchal's farm, and I saw that in other places as well. And someone here, I think Gabriel had the Chiddush, Netzach, the pshat is, Netzach is the right side. Netzach is the din in the chesed. Even when Hashem does chesed, there's some din to regulate the chesed, right? And Gabriel was mechadish that's why it's called Netzach, because it perpetuates the chesed by having some din in the chesed. And Hod, right, is the chesed in the din. It's the chesed in din. It's on the left side. But before you bring din into the world, add some element of chesed. Now, the Agom is Hod Shvahod. Is Hod Shvahod. It's the chesed of the din of the din. The chesed of the din of the chesed of the din. Right? In other words, there had to be din. 24,000 Talmidim had to die. Of Rebbe Kiva, or 12,000. But Lamaisa, there was a Nakud of chesed in it. Because Lamaisa, the Masorah came out as did, and all of Klal Yisrael for the Tkufa Spheres of Omer, were misavel on them. Really, this I saw in a few Svarim, we're really supposed to be. It's not stam that the Spheres of Omer came out during this time. We're supposed to be misbonin. We can't get haircuts. And what else don't you do Spheres of Omer, right? Making weddings. You're supposed to be like, it's over now. It's too late, right? It's far to have one more day, right? And some people keep the second sphere. But really, by not going to weddings and by not, buying new clothes and this, you're supposed to be thinking about what happens, right? So you have, for almost 2,000 years, people for 1 month during the year thinking about why they died and trying to mitaken that. That's a tremendous chus. That's a tremendous chus. So Lamaisa, some tikkun hopefully comes out, and that's the Hod Shvahod. That's the chesed in the din, right? There's going to be a din, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mesoivet in a way that it's a tremendous chus. Tremendous chus for the Talmidei Akiva that they were zoiche to, if you could say they died al Kiddush Hashem, but they died in a way. I just spoke this Tuesday by the house of Mrs. Kotoy, whose son died in Meron, and Rav Gershon Edelstein said when it happened, he said, these people, it's incredible schus because they must be on all Klal Yisrael to do tshuva. At least, all of Klal Yisrael was in Surah last year, after Meron, right? And that was, 1 week, but however long it lasted. Lamaisa, these Talmidei Rebbe Kiva, they were zeichel l'kol haderos that we should be nisara from the fact, they were nifter in such a way. And Avade Lamaisa, whoever learns the Idrizuta knows, or maybe they don't know, right, that on the last day of Rishon Bar Yochai's life, which is like Omer, that he was zeichet to Migala Soidos, that he had never been allowed to be Migala before, right? In the Idrizuta, right, there's certain partsufim that he wasn't, that people didn't even know about them, and he was zocha to Migala them. So for sure, that's all part of the same thing. The Gilui of Torah's Hasoid that came down to the world through Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, and the Gilui of Nigla that came down through Rav Akiva. It's all the same thing. It has to come b'ofen atar, and that's what the Mem Ches Kinyan were all about. Someone came today to speak to me. I'm coming to the kollel, and Lamaisa, when I'm talking to someone who wants to come, I'm always trying to feel like, who is this person? We talk about being a posek. It says 1,000 come in and 1 comes out, right? But who's the guy who's going to come out? Who's the guy who come out? And it's very interesting. A lot of Avreichim I've been through, and some of the people I thought would be really matzliach, they weren't as matzliach I thought. And some of the people I thought, I don't think they have necessarily the kochos and the kalim. They were very, very matzliach, right? A lot, I won't say everything, but a lot. If you look at the Mem Ches Kinyanim, it's about midas, And the midas, we have to understand the Torah is a matana, right? Matan Torah is saying, what's Matan Torah saying? It's a matana. Matan Torah is matana. It's a gift, For sure, you need amel. It's a t'nai to get the gift, and you need to have amel, But lamais, it's a gift. The gift comes according to the way that you're machshir yourself to get the gift, and that's meant to be our avoda right now. The avoda right now, and we have 2 more weeks left until until Shavuos. The avoda right now is to be machshir ourselves, to be roy on Shavuos, to be makabel the gifts, and that's why it's not stam that these talmidim died in this period, bein Pesach Latzeres, yeah, because as we're preparing ourselves for Kabbalah Satira, and again, like these were probably they were great tzaddikim, right? It was a chut tzara of minas adin, right, that they were nidon so such a chomer way, yeah, and they were nidon and Rabbi Kiva, yeah, Rabbi Kiva, imagine 24,000 talmidim. It was a tremendous nisoyan that Rabbi Kiva had to deal with, right? But as we get closer and closer to Kabbalah Satira, we have to know if you really want Torah, yeah, you have to work on your midas, work on yourself. The Gra says that. He says, Taras Talei, right? He says, really, the person who wants to get Torah, he needs to, that's Tovlev Mishtatamit. Yeah, Tovlev Mishtatamit. You need the Shechina to be Shura on your whole Metzias, on your whole being. And how do you do that? You do that, through working on yourself. And it's like so interesting that Rav Gershon Elstein, almost every week he says the same thing, like the past few months. He says, you just have to learn Musar, Pick an interesting Musar Sefer, do this. He says it already 37 times, He just keeps saying it again and again and again. Because he's hoping probably that if he keeps saying it, that someone will actually listen. But that's it. It's not so hard, You just have to sit down, be here at, 9 o'clock or 9:05 even, if you're late, right? Or even if you get here at 9:10, 9:15, you have an onus gummer. So, but sit down, open up a Musar Sefer, and that's called, Rav Dan Segel, that's called Yirasoi Kodem L'Chachmas, right? That if you have your Shemayim before you learn, your whole Seder is going to be different. Yeah? If you work on your Shemayim, and the Gra says, Marich B'Beis Akise, it's a Peldik Gemara, right? The Gemara says, right, Eis Matzah. Eis Matzah is the Isha, Eis Matzah is the Torah, right? And Eis Matzah is Beis Akise, right? Eis Matzah. So the Gra says the best shot is Beis Akise. That's Eis Matzah. It's what's shot? Says the Gra that Beis Akise means that before you learn Torah, he says Torah is like Geshem. Torah is like rain. If you have rain on weeds, it makes the weeds grow. If you have rain on plants, it makes the plants grow. He says before you learn Torah, you have to take the psolas out of yourself. That's called Beis Akise. That's called Marich Beis Akise. Yeah, that before you learn, to try to take the psolas out of yourself, to work on your midas, mafash b'shrumaisa, and then when you're learning, the matana will be much, much greater. So Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us the Yata D'Shmaya, right? By the way, right, we'll just finish with that point, hopefully. Yeah, that it says Rabos Banos Asachayil. Says the Gra like this amazing shot. He says Rabos Banos Asachayil. He says who can get to the Mem Ches Kinyanim, right? In the note there from Chaim Volozhin, he says, well, he got there. But Rabos Banos Asachayil, he says, if you can't get to it, you should be part of a chabura where each person has a little bit. And then all together, you'll have the Mem Ches Kinyanim, and you'll be Zochet Kabbalah Satira. Right? So that's why it's so important. A person you should be part of a chabura where each person is working lefi his teva and lefi his nature that to get to some of the Mem Ches Kinyanim, and all together you'll have it. Rabos Banos Asachayil. You can be Zochet the Mem Ches Kinyanim as a chabura. Right? So that's a big nechama for those of us who don't have all the Mem Ches Kinyanim. I'm talking about everyone else, not me, but and myself as well, of course. But the point is that you really, really have to. We really, really have to work on it. And okay, I'm gonna finish on one more point because it's so important. And then it's really gonna finish because in 2 minutes they're gonna start flooding the base. It should be too loud to speak anyway. But I don't know. Did I tell you this kasha? Right. The last of the Mem Ches Kinyanim. There's only one raya in the whole Mem Ches Kinyanim, which is what? What? Right. So that's one question. Why Dafka that one as a raya, the last one? And number two is L'chora Omer Davar B'Shem Oimroi is already included, right, in Lo Machzik Tovel Asmach. Right? One of the earlier midas is Lo Machzik Tovel Asmach. So Lamaisa, I think the pshat in the last and then what's the raya we bring? Right? Omer Davar B'Shem Omer maybe Gula Olam. Right? I believe you could suggest that the last midah, right, is not just Omer Davar B'Shem Omro, because that you already have, right? But it's a sapir for gula, right? To do maisim and pulas, yeah, with severe gula, and that's a small thing. Omer Davar B'Shem Omro, right? But a whole shukas achayim or a whole gisha, right? After all the Mem Ches Kinyanim, it has to be towards the gula. Yeah, the gula is going to come because until we have shechina, until we have gula, until we have shechina, so really we're chasra kol. The Gra says, right? You can't have Torah without a base mikdash. Right? The Gemara says without Ashras Ashchina, we can't really have Torah. So Sachakol, when we get to 48, when you get to Erev Shavuos, number 48, that is really the tachlis. The purpose of all the Memches Kinyan is to get to the Gula, that we should have Ashras Ashchina, we should have the Beis Hamikdash back. Amen. Kain Yeh Batsan.